There's this common myth that cockroaches are immune to radiation. In fact, it would seem that the common housefly is actually more rad resistant. Yet within the world of Fallout, cockroaches seem to have thrived, as plenty of enlarged cockroaches can be found all across the wastes. These are called radroaches. And while they may appear to just be a common nuisance in the games, they are actually much deadlier than you might think. Welcome to 1000 Ways to Die in the Wastes. This is the series where we discuss in PG-13 visceral detail just how brutal the wasteland can be, even if the video games don't do it justice. Last time we spoke about the terrifyingly evil bloodbug. This week we'll be talking about Fallout's enlarged cockroach, the Radroach. But what exactly is a Radroach? Well, a radroach is the product of a cockroach's exposure to radiation following the Great War. They take on a similar appearance to their pre-war counterparts, albeit they're quite a bit larger. They've got a brown exterior, a hardened carapace, a segmented body, 6 legs, and a pair of antennae. Dr. Siggy Wilzig explains in the second episode of the Fallout TV series that before the war, people joked about cockroaches surviving a nuclear blast, but they didn't merely survive, they improved. Enlarged thorax to ward off attack, extended antennae in order to hunt in packs, incisors to help ingest larger prey. Despite some changes, radroaches do retain many characteristics of their pre-war counterparts, including their ability to scuttle quickly and their preference for dark, enclosed spaces. This makes them well suited for surviving in the ruins of abandoned buildings, underground tunnels, and other hazardous environments. One new characteristic, however, is the radroach's deadly nature. Let's talk about it. To start, these once small pests have undergone a gigantic transformation thanks to latent radiation following the Great War. Once small insects that would scurry across kitchen floors and the likes, radroaches now loom larger than their pre-war counterparts. What had an average length of 1.6 inches, the cockroach, has now grown to the size of a small house cat, an increase in size by a factor of about 18. Big roach. But it's not just their increased size that makes radroaches a more formidable foe in the wasteland. With their enlarged frames comes a corresponding boost in strength and resilience, allowing them to shrug off attacks that would normally cripple or kill their pre-war counterparts. No stepping on these bugs. We see a good example of their strength in the Fallout TV series. When Thad takes Maximus's fusion core, Max finds himself stranded in a suit of power armor, unable to get out. As time passes, a handful of radroaches find the Lost Brotherhood member and attempt to get into the suit. We see a radroach puncture part of the suit before Lucy comes in to save the day. What is seemingly a weak enemy in the games can actually pierce through thick armor. It's simultaneously impressive and terrifying. Yet, their immense growth spurt wouldn't be that big of a problem if it weren't for their new wasteland diet. Before the Great War, while some insects can eat human tissue and flesh, like botflies or some types of ants, I don't think that there's a single bug that actively pursues and wants to tear apart humans. In the wasteland, this is not the case. While cockroaches like sweets and sugar, they're not picky eaters. The radroach is no different. Radroaches will chomp down on anything that crosses their path, including humans. While they might not actively hunt people, they will not hesitate to try and take a bite if given the chance. Their ambition when hunting is quite impressive, and their newfound size gives them the confidence to try and take down targets that are much bigger than them. It'd be like fighting off a rabid cat that could tear apart your leg in seconds. Not a pleasant thought, but that's post-apocalyptic living for you. Their hunger for anything, including humans, doesn't stop the radroach from doing what pests do best. One of the most notable aspects of radroaches is their ability to squeeze through impossibly small gaps and cracks, slipping into spaces that would otherwise be impassable for any other creature. This awkward flexibility allows them to infiltrate even the most fortified of structures. We see some great examples of this with Vault 101's Radroach infestation during the Escape main quest. Whether it be through narrow ventilation shafts or other hidden crevices, Radroaches are able to gain access to areas that many folks would consider to be safe havens. Once inside, Radroaches are able to employ ambush tactics. They lurk in the shadows, seamlessly blending in with their surroundings thanks to their darker carapace and odd ability to remain perfectly still for extended periods of time. I mean, if you sneak up on a Radroach without alerting them, it's like they're just AFK on the wall. They don't move a muscle. It almost feels like they're dead. But when they do spot you, the Radroach strikes, launching themselves from their position to deliver a swift and savage attack. If their razor-sharp mandibles can tear through metal, you better bet that it can tear through flesh and bone as well. This combination of stealth, agility, and ferocity makes Radroaches quite the formidable threat to any unprepared wastelander. These critters are capable of turning even the most secure of places into hidden death traps. Speaking of, the Radroach's tendency to swarm and infest locations turns them into an unexpected but deadly threat. When a Radroach infestation takes hold, say in Vault 101 or any other vault for that matter, it's usually not just a few pests to deal with. They multiply rapidly, turning into a horde that can quickly overrun an area. While it's not the pinnacle source of lore, we see in the Fallout Shelter mobile game that just when you think you've dealt with the problem of a Radroach infestation, a new one will pop up sometime later. It would seem to be a never-ending problem. Their numbers are outrageous. In smaller confrontations, it's not uncommon to find yourself facing anywhere from 3 to 7 of these creatures at once, their numbers making them difficult to fend off. Now you might be thinking, Nort, really? 3? Anyone can deal with 3 Radroaches, and that's just simply not true. We have in-universe examples to back it up as well. Again, during the Escape main quest in Fallout 3, we see a few groups of 3 or so Radroaches take on Vault security and succeed. We also see Ellen Deloria, Butch's mother, be absolutely helpless against a small group of Radroaches. Although small and unassuming, Radroaches are quite the threat when they have some numbers behind them. Their swarming tactics are relentless. They'll come at you from all directions, making it difficult to focus on the nearest threat. While not the fastest of creatures, their intermittent fluttering with their wings can make them a bit more difficult to target. Just when you think you've gotten a clean shot, they jump up and attack. Besides, unloading a firearm when surrounded by a group of small bugs is a surefire way to accidentally shoot your foot off. Like with all the other bugs mentioned in this series, it's better to take them down with melee weapons. And finally, just like the blood bug, Radroaches are a primary vector for disease. In the dirt-filled and unhygienic wasteland, disease and infection are things that you've got to stay on top of. The spreading of diseases is a constant threat. The locations where Radroaches can be found and their scavenging nature make them the perfect carriers for all sorts of pathogens. In Fallout 76, the only game with a disease mechanic, we see that a diseased Radroach is able to transmit the bloodworm's disease to the player. In-game, this disease makes the player take 25% more damage. In real life or in-universe, the closest thing I could find to a bloodworm's disease would be schistosomiasis. Schistosomiasis is a parasitic disease caused by blood flukes, aka a type of flatworm. It can result in abdominal pain, diarrhea, enlarged liver, and the usual fever, chills, cough, and muscle aches. In rarer cases, it can lead to bladder cancer, seizures, or paralyzation, all things that you would definitely want to avoid. For survivors already weakened by the harsh conditions of the wasteland, Falling ill to a radroach-borne disease could result in a death sentence. Without access to proper medical care or antibiotics, a minor infection or disease could quite easily get out of control. If the increased strength, razor-sharp mandibles, and swarming nature aren't enough to convince you that a radroach is nothing to mess with, then maybe it's the threat of being exposed to a miserable disease. And that wraps up our exploration of one of the wasteland's most unassuming pests. With their ability to swarm, infest, ambush, and spread disease, the radroach poses many threats to wastelanders who are already struggling to survive. What was once a creature thought to have only been able to survive a nuclear apocalypse has since thrived in it. That's it from me today, folks. If you liked the video, be sure to share and subscribe. Join the Discord. Have a good rest of your day. Cheers.
Before the war, people joked about cockroaches surviving a nuclear blast, but they didn't merely survive. They improved.